Some trucks aren't just vehicles, they become legends. They don't just carry cargo. They carry stories, thrills, and sometimes even terror. Across decades of film, certain trucks have left a mark so strong that they're remembered long after the credits roll. From highways filled with suspense to open roads packed with laughter and chaos, these machines have done more than drive. They've defined entire movies. You might think of a truck as just a tool, a way to get from point A to point B, but on the silver screen, trucks have become characters in their own right. Some chased us with terrifying precision, some made us cheer for their drivers, and some just stole every scene they appeared in, leaving audiences both terrified and amazed. In this video, we're diving into a collection of iconic truck movies that have thrilled, shocked, and entertained audiences for decades. From cult classics of the 70s and 80s to modern thrillers that push suspense to the edge, each of these films gave trucks a personality, a purpose, and a legend. Whether it's a faceless rig that hunts a lone driver or a high-octane adventure across the highways, these stories prove one thing: trucks aren't just machines, they're stars. By the end of this countdown, you'll see how these vehicles became unforgettable, why fans still talk about them years later, and maybe even discover a few hidden gems you've never heard of. So buckle up, because the road ahead is full of high-speed thrills, insane stunts, and legendary trucks that changed the way we see the open highway. And if you like big rigs, hit that subscribe button. This video was inspired by our subscriber Ryan Pollan. Stephen King isn't just known for terrifying readers on the page. He took that fear to the big screen with his only directorial effort, Maximum Overdrive. Imagine a world where machines rise up against humanity and then realize the ones leading the rebellion are trucks, buses, and construction equipment. This isn't your everyday road trip. The highways become battlegrounds, and every rig becomes a weapon in a chaotic, 80s-fueled nightmare. What makes Maximum Overdrive so iconic isn't just the premise, it's the pure, over-the-top energy King poured into it. Trucks barrel down roads with menacing intent, headlights glowing like eyes in the dark, tires crunching asphalt as if they had a mind of their own. The film has a surreal quality, part horror, part dark comedy, with moments so wild they feel like a fever dream of machines gone rogue. Behind the scenes, the story gets even crazier. The entire film was shot in just 7 weeks. And King admits it was a wild experiment, sometimes chaotic, sometimes hilarious, and always unpredictable. The cast reportedly spent long days dealing with temperamental trucks and outrageous stunts, giving the film an energy that feels raw and unpolished, but that's part of its charm. Fans still remember the scene where a massive truck crushes everything in its path, a moment that defines Killer Machine in cinema. But what is truly fascinating is how Maximum Overdrive taps into a primal fear. What if the very machines we rely on suddenly turned against us? It's not just a movie about trucks. It's a ride through a world where control slips from human hands and the highways themselves become terrifying arenas. And while King's experiment divided critics, there's no denying its place in cult classic history. Long before CGI and high-tech stunts, a single, faceless truck terrorized an ordinary man in Duel, Steven Spielberg's breakthrough feature. The film is deceptively simple. A businessman driving down a lonely highway becomes the target of a mysterious, unstoppable truck. No one knows who's behind the wheel, and that anonymity is what makes it terrifying. Every close pass, every intentional swerve feels personal, even though the truck itself is almost a character, relentless, calculating, and impossible to shake. Duel is iconic not because it's flashy, but because of the tension Spielberg builds with minimal tools. There's hardly any dialogue, and the cast is small, yet the suspense is constant. The truck doesn't just chase, it taunts, it intimidates, and it dominates the screen. Spielberg's genius was in turning a simple highway into a stage for psychological terror, proving that a single vehicle could carry an entire story. Behind the scenes, the production had its own drama. The truck's aggressive driving was so convincing that crew members reportedly felt genuine fear during filming. Spielberg pushed boundaries with camera angles that made the highway feel claustrophobic and the truck unstoppable. The film became a masterclass in suspense, influencing countless thrillers that followed. What makes Duel unforgettable isn't just the truck. It's how it transforms the mundane act of driving into a life or death struggle. It's a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters on screen aren't supernatural. They're steel and diesel, barreling down the road with a single, unstoppable purpose. In 1977, trucks weren't just about danger, they could be stars of comedy and high-octane fun. Smokey and the Bandit Semi captured that perfectly, turning the highways into playgrounds for daring stunts and unforgettable chases. Burt Reynolds, in his iconic Trans Am, takes on a massive semi-truck in a race that combines speed, wit, and sheer charisma. It wasn't just a vehicle versus vehicle showdown. It was a showdown full of personality, charm, and classic 70s swagger. What made this movie iconic wasn't just the stunts, though they were jaw-dropping. It was the chemistry, the humor, and the way the truck itself became a character in the story. Audiences weren't just cheering for the bandit, they were cheering for the thrill of the chase, the clever escapes, and the way the highway became a stage for pure entertainment. The semi-truck wasn't just an obstacle, it was part of the legend, larger than life and impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, the stunts pushed boundaries. Drivers risked it all, with sequences that looked impossible even by today's standards. The movie's huge box office success proved that trucks could carry a story in ways both thrilling and hilarious, inspiring sequels and a generation of fans who still remember the roar of that engine. Trucks don't always chase, they can also carry danger in a more grounded, real-world way. Snitch takes this approach, with Dwayne Johnson playing a father who goes undercover in a world of crime and smuggling. The film turns ordinary trucks into tools of suspense, danger, and high-stakes tension, proving that vehicles on screen don't need supernatural powers to keep your heart racing. What makes Snitch stand out is its connection to reality. The story draws inspiration from true events, highlighting the risky, sometimes deadly world of trucking used in illegal operations. Every delivery, every loaded rig feels fraught with consequence. Johnson's character isn't just driving, he's navigating a web of deceit, danger, and moral choices, with trucks acting as both escape vehicles and instruments of tension. The action sequences are intense but grounded. Highways are filled with tight turns, looming semi-trucks, and the constant threat of interception. The film balances suspense with character-driven storytelling, showing that trucks can be more than set pieces. They can shape a narrative, build tension, and raise the stakes for everyone involved. Snitch reminds audiences that the open road can be just as dangerous in modern thrillers as it was in classic 70s and 80s films, but in a more realistic, high-stakes way. The Joyride series turned the idea of a simple road trip into a nerve-wracking nightmare. Across 3 films, a mysterious trucker stalks unsuspecting travelers, turning highways into arenas of suspense and terror. What makes these movies iconic isn't just the chase, it's the psychological edge. The trucker isn't seen clearly, and that faceless menace keeps viewers on edge, reminding us that the most terrifying threats don't need names, they just need power, speed, and unpredictability. The first Joyride set the tone with pulse-pounding tension. Every phone call from the trucker escalates fear, and every passing rig feels like a looming threat. The sequels in 2008 and 2014 expanded on this, keeping the concept fresh while building on the legend of the relentless trucker. Fans have speculated endlessly about the trucker's identity, with rumors suggesting he could return in new forms, keeping the suspense alive well beyond the screen. Part of the series' appeal lies in its balance of suspense and clever plotting. Audiences are drawn in not just by the physical chase, but by the cat-and-mouse game of strategy, wit, and survival. The trucks themselves are almost characters, silent yet imposing, driving the story forward with every engine roar and tire screech. The Joyride films prove that trucks can carry fear, tension, and mystery across decades. Not every legendary truck movie is about speed or terror. Sometimes it's about grit, attitude, and raw storytelling. Truck Stop Women is a prime example. This 74 classic goes into the underworld of trucking and smuggling, with a story full of danger, betrayal, and survival. The highways aren't just roads, They're battlegrounds where every truck carries secrets and every driver has a score to settle. What makes this film iconic is its unapologetic, unpolished style. The lead, a tough and fearless woman navigating a male-dominated world, turns the truck into more than a vehicle. It becomes a tool of empowerment, escape, and vengeance. The movie captures the rough and tumble feel of the 70s grindhouse era, combining suspense, action, and a hint of rebellion that resonates with audiences even today. The stunts and truck sequences are straightforward but effective, giving the film a raw energy that modern CGI-heavy movies often lack. Viewers are drawn into the danger, rooting for the protagonist while feeling the tension of every highway encounter. Truck Stop Women proves that even in a small, cult classic film, trucks can carry stories of empowerment and survival as powerfully as any blockbuster. And while this film leans into grit and drama, the 90s would bring a new level of suspense and intensity to truck-based thrillers. Breakdown takes the simple act of a roadside stop and turns it into a nightmare. Kurt Russell stars in this 1997 thriller, playing a husband whose wife mysteriously disappears during a cross-country trip. What starts as a routine journey quickly escalates into a tense, high-stakes chase, with trucks playing a central role in the suspense. Every semi on the highway feels like a potential threat, turning ordinary roads into traps. What makes Breakdown iconic is its mastery of tension. The film doesn't rely on supernatural elements or faceless villains. It builds fear through suspense, clever plotting, and the looming presence of trucks as instruments of menace. The stunts are precise, and the highway sequences are carefully choreographed to keep viewers gripping their seats. Each turn and overtake becomes a pulse-pounding moment, showing how a simple truck can dominate a story when framed correctly. The film also stands out for its realism. Unlike over-the-top action flicks, Breakdown keeps audiences on edge by making the danger feel plausible. Trucks aren't just props, they're relentless forces that escalate the drama with every scene. This attention to detail has made Breakdown a benchmark for modern thriller storytelling, where even a single truck can carry the weight of an entire film's tension. Black Dog revs the engines of trucking thrills in a way few films have. Patrick Swayze stars as an ex-con trucker forced back on to the highways for one last dangerous run. Smuggling, high-speed chases, and life-or-death stunts dominate the screen, proving that trucks can be more than vehicles. They can be the heartbeat of a story. What makes Black Dog iconic isn't just the action. It's the way it blends tension, danger, and adrenaline with the culture of truckers. The trucks aren't faceless machines. They're extensions of the characters, tools of survival, and symbols of defiance. Each rev of the engine and screech of tires pushes the story forward, keeping viewers on edge from start to finish. Behind the scenes, the film committed to realism. The stunts were performed on actual highways, giving chase sequences an authenticity that CGI rarely achieves. Audiences can feel the speed, the weight of the rigs, and the ever-present risk of the open road. This grounded yet thrilling approach made Black Dog stand out among other late 90s action films, cementing its status as a cult classic for truck movie fans. Over the Top isn't your typical truck movie. It's a bold blend of arm wrestling, family drama, and highway adventure, all wrapped in the unmistakable 80s style of Sylvester Stallone. Stallone plays a trucker determined to reconnect with his son while competing in the high-stakes world of arm wrestling. And the open road becomes both a stage for his personal journey and a backdrop for over-the-top action. What makes this film iconic is its combination of heart and spectacle. Stallone's rig carries him across states, bridging father and son while delivering high-energy stunts and chase sequences that scream 80s cinema. The trucking culture is front and center, complete with big rigs, long highways, and the feeling that every mile traveled carries weight and purpose. Behind the scenes, Stallone trained for months to convincingly portray a professional arm wrestler, showing the same dedication he put into making his truck scenes look authentic. The movie embraces its own extravagance, with dramatic stunts, flashy cinematography, and a soundtrack that epitomizes the era. Highballing is a quintessential 70s trucking adventure, packed with stunts, colorful characters, and the open road freedom that defined the era. The film follows independent truckers as they navigate dangerous highways, outsmart criminals, and prove that life on the road is as thrilling as it is unpredictable. Every rig is larger than life, and the highways themselves become arenas for daring maneuvers and high-stakes showdowns. What makes high-balling iconic is its celebration of the trucking lifestyle. The stunts are audacious, the dialogue full of swagger, and the energy of the 70s shines through every frame. Audiences are drawn in not just by the action, but by the sense that these trucks carry personalities, stories, and a spirit of rebellion across every mile. The film also captures the thrill of the open road in a way few movies can. Each chase, each overtake, and each highway stunt is a constant reminder that trucks in cinema can be the lifeblood of the story. High-balling became a cult favorite for fans of truck movies, embodying a unique combination of excitement, style, and old-school charm. Hijack turns a routine highway journey into a tense battle of wits and survival. This 1973 thriller follows unsuspecting travelers caught in a dangerous confrontation with hijackers, with trucks taking center stage as both threat and instrument of suspense. Every mile of road is fraught with tension, and the looming presence of the rig adds a constant sense of danger that keeps viewers on edge. What makes Hijack iconic is its early exploration of trucks as symbols of menace. The film doesn't rely on supernatural forces or over-the-top stunts. Instead, it builds suspense through realistic, high-stakes encounters. Each passing truck and every close call heightens anxiety, showing that the simplest tools, a semi, a load of cargo, and a stretch of highway, can create unforgettable tension on screen. Behind the scenes, the filmmakers focused on authenticity. The truck sequences were designed to feel plausible yet terrifying, making audiences believe that a routine drive could turn into a life-or-death scenario. Big Trouble in Little China isn't your typical truck movie. It's a wild ride that blends action, fantasy, and comedy into a cult classic. Kurt Russell returns to the screen, but this time, the highways are only part of the adventure. Trucks, including daring chase rigs, play key roles in the story's chaotic energy, zipping through Chinatown and creating moments that are as thrilling as they are absurdly fun. What makes this film iconic is its mix of genres. The trucks aren't just vehicles, they're instruments of chaos, timing, and spectacle. From sudden crash to improbable maneuvers, every rig on screen amplifies the movie's wild energy. The film's unique charm comes from its willingness to blend the fantastical with the tangible, giving trucks a starring role in moments of both suspense and comedy. Behind the scenes, the stunts were inventive and audacious, combining practical effects with imaginative choreography. The movie has endured as a cult favorite because it doesn't take itself too seriously, yet it delivers action and thrills that audiences remember decades later. Think Big takes the trucking adventure in a completely different direction, full of comedy, quirky characters, and outrageous hijinks. The movie follows a group of truckers as they tackle absurd challenges, navigate impossible situations, and prove that life on the road can be just as funny as it is chaotic. The trucks themselves become central to the humor, with oversized rigs, improbable stunts, and unpredictable outcomes that keep audiences laughing and guessing. What makes Think Big iconic is its celebration of exaggeration. The stunts and scenarios are deliberately over the top, embracing a cartoonish energy that contrasts sharply with the tense thrillers of the same era. Each truck has a personality, a role, and a way of stealing the scene, showing that these vehicles aren't just props, they're key players in the story. Behind the camera, the filmmakers leaned into the absurdity. Practical effects, clever timing, and inventive driving sequences give the film a charm that's both nostalgic and entertaining. Audiences can't help but root for the characters and the trucks, even when the odds, or physics, seem stacked against them. Revenge on the Highway, also known as Silent Thunder, transforms the open road into a tense battlefield of strategy, danger, and high-stakes vengeance. The plot follows a driver seeking justice, turning every highway into a deadly game of cat and mouse. What makes this film iconic is its focus on suspense and cunning. The story isn't about speed alone, it's about precision, timing, and outsmarting opponents while massive rigs dominate the screen. The way the vehicles interact with the environment elevates the drama, making each chase feel unpredictable and intense. Behind the scenes, the stunts were executed with practical realism. Drivers had to balance speed with safety while delivering sequences that kept audiences on the edge of their seats. The film's dedication to authentic trucking sequences and clever plot twists helped it stand out among early 90s thrillers, securing a place as a cult favorite for fans of highway suspense. From faceless rigs that hunt lone drivers to semi-trucks that chase fame and laughter, these 14 films prove that trucks are far more than just machines. They're stars, villains, heroes, and legends on the open road. Across decades, directors and storytellers have used trucks to evoke fear, thrill audiences, and even make us laugh, showing that a vehicle can carry not just cargo, but tension, personality, and cultural impact. Whether it was the raw chaos of Maximum Overdrive, the suspenseful terror of Duel, or the comedic antics of Smokey and the Bandit Semi, each film offered a unique take on what a truck could represent. Some trucks were instruments of suspense, some were symbols of freedom, and some simply stole every scene they appeared in. But what connects them all is their ability to captivate audiences, turning ordinary vehicles into unforgettable legends. These movies remind us that the highway is more than asphalt and paint. It's a stage for storytelling, a canvas for stunts, and a playground for imagination. They prove that trucks can evoke emotion, suspense, laughter, and awe, and that the open road will always hold a special place in cinematic history. So next time you see a massive rig rolling down the highway, remember, on screen, that truck might just be a hero, a villain, or a legend in the making. Which of these iconic trucks is your favorite? Let us know in the comments, and keep watching the highways because the stories they carry are far from over.